My name is Andrea Cipriano. I'm relentlessly real and always human. Hey guys, welcome back to The Crime Sheet. I'm Andrea and I hope you're having a fantastic Friday. I just wanted to jump on really quick and let you guys know that I was recently a guest on the latest up-and-coming true crime podcast called Crime TV, where I sat down with the hosts, Erin and Alyssa, and we talked about Richard Ramirez, who is also known as the Night Stalker. On the Crime TV podcast, Erin and Alyssa talk about the newest and most noteworthy true crime documentaries, and they do a ton of really great research to see where the documentary was accurate, where they missed details, and while also giving these documentaries a really blunt review. And Erin and Alyssa have a really great banter, and you can really feel their friendship and their comedic side come out in the episodes, which is really fun to listen to. So if Crime TV isn't already on your podcast list, it definitely should be. And in this podcast bonus episode, we discussed the latest Night Stalker documentary that was on Netflix. And so we covered Richard Ramirez's story. We also talked about other aspects of his criminality that I think you'll really enjoy learning more about. So here's a sneak peek of our conversation, and take a look.
I was really interested to ask you, since you have, studied forensic psychology. Richard Ramirez seemed really disorganized, and a lot of the serial killers that I have heard about or have familiarity with were very meticulous, very structured in the way they do things. So this one, I was like, oh, is that a thing? Do some serial killers operate like this, just erratic?
Yeah, no, you make a really good point. I think, like you were saying, when you think about what a serial killer is or how they behave, I think a lot of people would think about somebody like Joseph James DeAngelo, the Golden State Killer, somebody who is very organized, who plans out all of their murders beforehand and has some sort of forensic awareness. Whereas, like you were saying, spot on, Richard Ramirez is completely disorganized in that sense. I like to think about the behavioral science unit with the FBI back in the 1970s, John Douglas, Ron Ressler, and Ann Burgess. When they started doing criminal profiling, in the beginning, they really started to categorize behavior as organized and disorganized after doing interviews with, sexual serial killers. And a lot of these different characteristics, you can look at as data points to try to see and help you find out who these killers are. And you're absolutely right. Ramirez is completely disorganized.
And I think with his victims, just the outcome of each of his attacks, there was a lot of them where they were just, injured or they simply got away. And I think that goes into the lack of methodology that he had. He wasn't ever consistent. And so you had some people that were murdered, some were just simply attacked, injured, or they got away clean.
Well, I kind of wondered if that was carelessness, he literally cared so little about the people or the crime or what he was doing, or if it was more of that manic high that he seemed to have around killing people.
Yeah, definitely. I remember at one point in the documentary when a reporter asks Frank Salerno, what was Richard Ramirez's motive, throughout all of his killing? And Salerno just said it was simply to kill. It's as simple as that. And I think you're right. I think Richard Ramirez really had this sort of triggered compulsion that he had no impulse control. And so anytime that he really wanted to act out on these violent urges, he definitely did. And, what you guys were talking about too with the methodology and the victimology, that's something that's really common with disorganized killers, to not really go after victims that they would see. If you look at an organized offender, they would stalk somebody beforehand. Richard Ramirez did a little bit of that, but really he just looked at people who were victims of opportunity. Seeing a young woman go into her apartment late at night by herself, okay, then in a couple days he would go back and hit that apartment. We see that 53% of victims from disorganized offenders don't have a connection to the offender, and that's pretty spot on with Ramirez as well. And talking about even race, age, gender, ethnicity, Richard Ramirez was all over the place, and so are other disorganized offenders. So he really just went after anybody that he could. Thank you guys so much for watching, and to listen to the rest of our conversation where we talk more about Richard Ramirez, brain injuries, nature versus nurture, and true crime advocacy, check out the Crime TV bonus episode. I'll put a link to it in the description below, and definitely check out the rest of their podcast. It's on every streaming platform, and it has quickly become one of my favorites to listen to, and Erin and Alyssa are super fun as well. So thanks again for watching. You can subscribe and follow for more. I'm going to have a lot of content coming out this summer, so stay tuned, and thanks again.